Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Lay, and today we're diving into something that might just save your relationship. Seriously, it's 6:30 in the morning on a Tuesday. My son has a school field trip, and we're supposed to leave in 30 minutes. I'm frantically digging through his luggage, and I'm discovering that half the items on the checklist I carefully sent my wife yesterday are just missing. The sleeping bag's there, but no pillow. Rain gear, but no extra socks. I'm unpacking and repacking everything, and my frustration is building. So I turn to my wife and I say, trying to keep my voice level, I specifically sent you a checklist. How could you miss so many things? And what happened next? It completely caught me off guard. Instead of a simple apology or explanation, my wife exploded. 20 years of marriage came pouring out in this emotional torrent. My controlling attitude, my lack of appreciation, my disrespect for everything she does for this family. Suddenly, we weren't arguing about a few missing items. We were relitigating our entire relationship. I stood there, absolutely bewildered. How did a specific complaint about packing become a referendum on my character? Why couldn't we just fix the immediate problem and move on? Now, if you're a man listening to this, you're probably nodding your head right now. If you're a woman, you might be thinking, finally, someone gets it. It's never really about the luggage. And that right there? That's exactly what we're talking about today. Men and women might as well be from different planets when it comes to communication, conflict, and relationships. And until we recognize these fundamental differences, we're going to keep having the same exhausting fights over and over again. This realization led me to dive deep into John Gray's book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And what I discovered didn't just save my marriage, it completely transformed how I understand human relationships. So today, I'm breaking down the most powerful insights from this book, because whether you're struggling with your romantic partner, trying to improve workplace dynamics, or simply want to communicate better with the opposite sex, these insights are going to change everything. Let's start with the big picture. Gray's central metaphor isn't just clever marketing. It reflects genuine psychological differences between men and women. Imagine that men originally lived on Mars, valuing power, competency, efficiency, and achievement. Women came from Venus, where love, communication, beauty, and relationships were paramount. When both groups moved to Earth, they forgot they were from different worlds. They started expecting their partners to think, feel, and respond exactly like they do. The result? Endless frustration, miscommunication, and relationships that slowly deteriorate despite genuine love between partners. But here's the liberating truth that changed everything for me. These differences aren't flaws to be fixed. They're complementary strengths to be understood and appreciated. Once you grasp this concept, everything changes. Your partner's strange behavior suddenly makes perfect sense. Those relationship patterns that seemed personal and hurtful reveal themselves as predictable differences in how men and women process the world. So let me break down the most important differences, starting with what drives us at our core. Men's sense of self revolves around competency and achievement. We measure our worth by our ability to solve problems, accomplish goals, and produce results. When a man feels capable and successful, he feels good about himself. When he fails or feels incompetent, his self-esteem plummets. This explains why men often withdraw when facing problems. We're instinctively trying to figure out solutions on our own. Asking for help feels like admitting incompetence, which threatens our core identity. Women's sense of self centers on feelings and the quality of relationships. When a woman feels loved, cared for, and emotionally connected, she feels good about herself. When she feels dismissed or emotionally disconnected, it affects her deeply. This explains why women often want to talk through problems. The discussion creates emotional connection and helps process feelings. The conversation itself is often more important than reaching a solution. And now, my morning explosion makes complete sense, right? I saw missing items as a competency failure. A simple task wasn't executed properly. My direct feedback felt logical and necessary. But my wife heard something entirely different. She heard, You can't do anything right. You're not capable. I don't trust you with important responsibilities. My criticism felt like an attack on her worth as a partner and mother, triggering years of accumulated hurt from similar interactions. Neither of us was wrong. We were operating from completely different value systems. Now let's talk about how men and women handle stress, because this is huge. When men face stress or problems, we instinctively withdraw into what Gray calls the cave of the mind. We become quiet, distant, internally focused. This isn't personal rejection. It's how we process challenges and regain our sense of competency. After a difficult day at work, a man might come home and immediately turn on the TV or disappear into the garage. His partner often interprets this as indifference, but he's actually decompressing so he can be present later. Women, on the other hand, find relief through talking about their various problems in detail. This isn't complaining or seeking solutions. It's emotional processing that helps them feel better and more connected. Women don't need problems to be solved during these conversations. They need to be heard, understood, and emotionally supported. Here's where most couples get stuck. The biggest mistake men make, becoming Mr. Fix-It when women share problems. When your partner describes a frustrating day, your instinct is to offer solutions. But often, she doesn't want solutions. She wants understanding and emotional connection. And the biggest mistake women make, becoming the home improvement committee by offering unsolicited advice or criticism, especially when a man makes a mistake. When you point out what he did wrong or how he could do better, it feels like an attack on his competency. So what's the solution? Men, communicate your cave needs clearly. Say something like, I need some time to process this. Can we talk about it in an hour? This prevents your partner from taking your withdrawal personally. Women, respect cave time without pursuing or pressuring for immediate discussion. Trust that he'll emerge when ready to engage fully. Let me share something fascinating about how men and women stay motivated. Men feel most motivated and energized when they feel needed and capable of making a positive difference. We want to be heroes who solve problems and contribute meaningfully. When a woman trusts a man to handle something important, asks for his help with genuine appreciation, or acknowledges his contributions, his motivation soars. Women feel most motivated when they feel cherished, appreciated, and emotionally valued. They want to know that their feelings matter and that they're seen as precious and important. When a man listens attentively, expresses appreciation for who she is, or makes small gestures that show he's thinking of her, her motivation and affection increase dramatically. Here's a practical example. Instead of saying, you never help with dishes, try, I really appreciate it when you help me clean up after dinner. It makes such a difference. The first approach triggers defensiveness. The second motivates action. Now let's talk about the language barrier, because this might be the most important insight of all. Women often use superlatives, metaphors, and generalizations when expressing feelings. Statements like, you never listen to me, or we always fight about this, are emotional expressions, not factual accusations. These statements communicate the intensity of feelings, not literal truth. Men's common mistake? Taking these expressions literally and defending against the factual inaccuracy instead of responding to the emotional message. Saying, that's not true, I listened to you yesterday, misses the point entirely. Men, on the other hand, often communicate in brief, abbreviated language that focuses on essential information. We assume the emotional context is obvious and don't feel the need to elaborate. This economical communication style often leaves women feeling dismissed or unimportant. What men intend as efficiency, women often interpret as indifference. So when she's upset, here's what works. Listen without immediately offering solutions. Reflect back what you're hearing. It sounds like you're feeling overwhelmed. Ask, do you want me to help solve this, or do you need me to listen? And for women, when he's brief, don't assume it means disinterest. Give him time to process before expecting detailed responses. Now, I want to share something that completely blew my mind about how men and women keep score in relationships. For women, every single act of love, regardless of size, scores 1 point. Bringing coffee in bed equals 1 point. Buying an expensive gift equals 1 point. Listening to her concerns equals 1 point. Remembering to pick up milk equals 1 point. This means that frequency and consistency of loving gestures matter more than the magnitude of any single gesture. A woman would rather receive 7 small, thoughtful gestures throughout the week than 1 expensive gift on the weekend. Men often assume that bigger gestures score more points. We think that planning an elaborate vacation should bank us relationship credits for weeks. When women don't respond with proportional gratitude, we feel confused and unappreciated. Let me give you some practical strategies you can use starting today. When you need to communicate difficult feelings, use what I call the PREP method. Prepare by choosing the right time and emotional state. Request what you need, not what your partner did wrong. I need to feel more supported works better than you never help me. Show empathy by acknowledging your partner's perspective and frame it as partnership. How can we work together to solve this? For daily maintenance of your relationship, express gratitude specifically. Notice and acknowledge small gestures and efforts. Create connection rituals like regular check-ins, daily walks, or morning coffee together. Practice emotional generosity. Assume positive intent when conflicts arise, and address issues early before small resentments accumulate into major problems. My luggage packing fight with my wife wasn't really about missing items or incompetence. It was about 2 people from different planets trying to love each other without understanding their fundamental differences. Once we learned to speak each other's language, once I understood that my wife needed to feel cherished rather than criticized, and she understood that I needed to feel trusted rather than corrected, everything changed. We stopped taking each other's different responses personally and started seeing them as opportunities for deeper connection. This doesn't mean we never disagree or have conflicts, but when we do, we can usually identify what's really happening underneath the surface issue. We can address the deeper needs that are driving the conflict rather than just arguing about the symptoms. Look, relationships are the ultimate long-term investment. The time and energy you put into understanding and improving your relationship skills will pay dividends for the rest of your life. You'll experience deeper intimacy, less conflict, more support during challenges, and greater joy in sharing life's successes. So here's my challenge for you. Think about your most recent argument or tension with your partner. Can you identify which fundamental difference was really at play? Were you speaking different languages, operating from different value systems, responding to stress in different ways? And then ask yourself, what's one thing I could do differently in my next conversation to better meet my partner's core emotional needs? If this episode resonated with you, head over to bullishbooks.com. You'll find the full article with even more detailed strategies, examples, and insights. And while you're there, check out our other content on personal development, communication skills, and building the life you want. Thanks for listening. I'm Lei, and I'll see you in the next episode.